In Austin, I'm Quita Culpepper. A man wanted on 30 sexual assault warrants has been arrested and brought back to Texas. 45-year-old Juan Pablo Acosta was wanted by the Buda Police Department. He was arrested on 2 sexual assault charges in 2021, but bonded out and became a fugitive. Investigators found out he was living in Toronto. He was arrested by Canadian police back in June on unrelated charges and extradited to Texas on Wednesday. He's now booked in the Hayes County Jail. There are new calls for stronger seatbelt enforcement on Texas school buses after the NTSB investigated a crash involving a Leander ISD bus in August. That crash happened on Nameless Road. Investigators found the bus did have seatbelts, but only 2 of the 46 students on board were wearing them properly. Here's Daniel Perot.
2.5 months after Leander ISD school bus veered off the side of the road and tipped over, federal regulators are urging state and school leaders to tighten the use of seatbelts.
We probably need to look to overemphasize the correct usage of the belts and the overall usage of the seatbelts as well.
In addition to the state and Leander ISD, the NTSB is calling on 3 national organizations, including the National School Transportation Association, to tell members about this Leander crash, lack of seatbelt use, and encourage districts to develop stronger policies for proper seatbelt use.
You know, these recommendations are kind of standard from NTSB.
NSTA Executive Director Kurt Mackeson says school buses are built to withstand crashes, so seatbelts aren't as necessary as in cars.
Evacuations can become more complicated if seatbelts are implemented on a school bus.
Texas law requires seatbelts on school buses if they were purchased after the law passed in 2017. There's been a growing push to expand that since a deadly March 2024 crash between a Hayes CISD school bus and a cement pumper truck.
We need to take every step at every place we can to protect them and allow them to have that bright future.
In the wake of that crash, a KVUE Defenders investigation found most Central Texas school districts don't have a full fleet of buses with seatbelts. Mackeson says those decisions should be left up to school leaders, not a state mandate.
If it comes from top down level, you don't know that there's going to be the requisite amount of funding attached to that requirement.
State lawmakers have considered mandating seatbelts. A bill passed this spring requires districts to tell the Texas Education Agency how much it would cost to add seatbelts to all buses. Mackeson says adding seatbelts to old buses could void the warranty on the bus.
If you retrofit a bus, then which students get the seatbelts versus which students don't get the seatbelt?
And that was Daniel Perot reporting. The TEA will launch a cost reporting tool for school districts to give them those cost estimates on November 11th. And districts have until May 29th to submit those reports. A warning from health officials in Austin about a rise in whooping cough cases. Austin public health leaders say there have been 115 reported cases of the infectious disease from January through September, adding that's a 35% increase compared to all of last year. More than half of the cases involved children, and 6 students at Lamar Middle School were recently diagnosed.
I'm KVUE Political Director Ashley Goodo here to continue our deep dive looking at the 17 proposed amendments to the state constitution that all Texas voters are weighing in on. Today, let's talk about 2 props that have a widespread support because they would increase homestead exemptions. We'll start with Prop 11. Here's what you'll see on the ballot. The constitutional amendment authorizing the legislature to increase the amount of the exemption from ad valorem taxation by a school district of the market value of the residence homestead of a person who is elderly or disabled. During the 2023 legislative session, lawmakers voted to increase the property tax exemption to $100,000. But the additional exemption given to Texans ages 65 and older and those who are disabled didn't change. It stayed at $10,000. If this prop passes, the additional savings given to seniors and the disabled would increase to $60,000, saving the average older Texan about $450 on their school tax bill every year. A lot of older and disabled Texans are on fixed income, so as property values across the state increase, it can be harder for seniors to stay in their homes. Supporters say this would help, and school districts wouldn't lose any money because the state will put more money in to make up the difference. That's also the case if Prop 13 passes. Here's that prop. The constitutional amendment to increase the amount of the exemption of residents' homesteads from ad valorem taxation by a school district from $100,000 to $140,000. This one, pretty easy to understand, and earlier this year I talked with the author of the bill, State Senator Paul Bettencourt, about the impact it would have for Texas homeowners.
Well, the key component of SB 4 is that it raises the homestead exemption. When a homeowner gets a higher homestead exemption, it means they pay less. And on school taxes, it's really important. We've had a great run at raising the homestead exemption up to $100,000, but now we're going to go another 40%, raise it up to $140,000, and that saves the average home $363 a year, every year, for the rest of their lives.
If both of these propositions pass, Texas seniors and the disabled would get a property tax exemption of $200,000, which means a supermajority of seniors across the state won't have to pay any school taxes. Again, supporters say this provides real tax relief to Texans, but opponents warn if there's an economic downturn and Texas is faced with a budget deficit instead of a surplus, lawmakers could cut funding to public schools. After all, that's what happened in 2011. The choice, though, is up to you to vote, Texas.
And the government shutdown stretches on. According to the National Head Start Association, hundreds of federally funded early learning programs that help an estimated 65,000 children nationwide face closure this week. Kelsey Sanchez spoke with the head of Community Action of Central Texas about how this will affect hundreds of local families.
Michelle Martinez says having her 3-year-old daughter in a Head Start program allows her to have accessible childcare.
Being a single mom of 5 children, I have 4 in school, it's very helpful only because, I don't have to pay anything out of pocket.
So while her other kids are at school, she says there's comfort knowing her youngest has somewhere to go.
Being taken care of, and they provide, childcare during the day, and they feed her. And so it's good learning for her to be able to get those social skills, and it helps me because I'm able to go to work.
The program serves low-income families in Hays and Caldwell County, providing early learning, free meals, and support.
Finding them the resources and providing them the contacts throughout the community that can help them. Our goal is to get them out of poverty.
But that goal is coming to a halt. Parents receiving this letter notifying them come October 31st, these centers run by Community Action will close until the government shutdown is lifted. A stalemate program director Danielle Engelke says will leave families without services they depend on.
If the government does not open, the impact is truly going to be catastrophic for these families and my staff.
Engelke says she's already told cleaning staff and other crews who come to the site not to show up going forward. As for families affected, she says they're already sending out resources to help them out in the meantime. Engelke says 390 families will be impacted and 126 staff, including herself, are expected to be laid off.
It is tough. I am still going to be in communication with the agency just because I can't not be. I live for Head Start, so I have to be able to still know what's going on.
As for Martinez, she says family from South Texas will help care for her youngest.
It's going to be impactful for her mostly because she's not going to be with her siblings, and she's been used to the routine that she has, but sometimes we do have to make these sacrifices for the things that are happening around us.
Sacrifices Martinez hopes Congress is paying attention to. In San Marcos, Kelsey Sanchez, KVUE News.
And those are the headlines in Austin. I'm Quita Culpepper.